Hey, I'm Dr. Mathew Avram. I'm the director of the Dermatology Laser and Cosmetic Center in Dermatologic Surgery at Massachusetts General Hospital. I'm the faculty director for laser and cosmetic training at Harvard Medical School, and I'm the current president of the American Society for Dermatologic Surgery. You're listening to Interview with the Surgeon Agent.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Interview with the Surgeon. Today, welcome Dr. Mathew Avram, Director of Dermatologic Surgery at Mass General. Doc, how are we doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being with us. So, getting started, what were your goals and aspirations during your residency, and how did those change throughout your fellowship?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when I went to my residency, I had an open mind about what I was going to do. My number one priority was to learn as much medical dermatology as I could. I thought that I might end up being a dermatologic surgeon, maybe a Mohs surgeon. And I thought that I was going to use my 3 years of my residency to learn as much as I could about the foundations of medical dermatology, knowing that I might be doing a fellowship. Then I ended up doing a fellowship in Mohs micrographic surgery and laser and cosmetic dermatology. And for about 3/4 of that year, I was really focused on surgical oncology, which is Mohs micrographic surgery, doing Mohs surgery reconstructions. Towards the end of that year, Rock Sanderson, who was the director of the Wellman Center here at Mass General, spoke to me about maybe coming back to Boston, where I'd done my residency, and running the Laser and Cosmetic Center. And that really was a game changer for me, because I really went from someone who's focused on Mohs surgery and doing surgical cases at that point in my fellowship into applying technology for treatments in dermatology, doing lasers for medical and for cosmetic reasons. That was a transformative thing for me. And that ended up determining what I ended up doing for the rest of my career for the last 16 years.
So kind of taking us through that fellowship year, right? What was your mentality into that first job search, and how that perspective changed in the beginning years of your career?
Yeah, so I went out to, I trained here at the Harvard program, went out to UCLA, and had a great year, worked with great people there. And the entire time I was there, I was really focused on the fact that I was going to be a Mohs surgeon. The nice thing about my program is that it allowed me to give lectures about topics that I was interested in. One of those was fat, and that was an area that was developing. And as the year kind of went along, I was dealing more and more with people who were involved with fat treatments, things that ultimately became things like pool sculpting. As that occurred, I gained more of an interest in kind of cosmetic treatments and laser treatments. And ultimately, I was offered the position here to run the Laser and Cosmetic Center at Mass General and work with someone I really looked up to, Rock Sanderson, who largely created the field. So that was the journey that I had that year. And it's funny, I didn't anticipate any of it. I knew I wanted to have cosmetic exposure. I never thought that's what I was going to do. But being in a program that allowed me to pursue anything that I might be interested in and travel and give lectures made that possible for me. So that was really transformative. And I'll credit Dr. Gary Lask, who was my mentor at UCLA, for that.
So during that phase of transitioning, do you ever consider going private practice, or are you academic focused all the way?
Well, it's interesting. You can do laser and aesthetics and be academic in private practice. You don't need to be an academic center. I'm at a unique one here at Mass General that really has a long track record of innovation, and I work with great people. So for me, that academic component here is unique. And that was a major reason that I came to Mass General, as opposed to doing private practice. There were unique opportunities available to me that wouldn't be available in private practice. Having said that, I think that you can do great academic work in private practice, particularly in laser and aesthetics.
So kind of briefly take us through your journey on how you became the director of the program there.
Yeah, I mean, so I was chief resident here, was a resident here at the Harvard Dermatology program. My plan was to go back to New York and work with my brothers. They have a large practice, and that I was going to be a Mohs surgeon in Manhattan. And over the course of the year, my interest gravitated more towards the laser aesthetic cosmetic stuff. And then I had this opportunity presented to me at Mass General to work with really an incredible physician, Rock Sanderson, incredible scientist. My brothers also trained at this program. They knew what a great opportunity that was. And credit to them, the whole time I was expected to come back to New York and work in Manhattan and do that. And they made me feel good about the decision that I ultimately made, which was to come back to Boston, to come to Mass General and pursue a career in the laser realm. And I've been here for 16 years. I can honestly say halfway through my fellowship, I never would have imagined coming back here. It's something I never thought I would do, but I love coming to work every day. It's Friday afternoon, it's late, and I'm fired up. I had a great week, and I love what I do.
So what would you say were some of the keys to your success that shaped your early career as you climbed the ranks in the academic world?
I think the most important thing is to work really hard. So I came here and recognized that if I was going to be in an academic center, the only way that was worth my while, as opposed to being in private practice, was if I really started working hard at doing papers, speaking, learning as much as I could, being as innovative as possible, doing new technologies. So the most important thing I would say is to work really hard, connect with other people, find mentors, and then find something that you're passionate about, and maybe find a niche. For me, that was fat, non-invasive fat removal, which just happened to be developing at that time. And that opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So I think the best things to do are to work hard, use your time wisely, and then I think good things happen. There's a lot of opportunity in dermatology. And I think people respect, when you look for mentors and people to guide your way, they really respect people who work really hard and show a true interest. And I think those are really important keys.
You bring up a really interesting point as far as mentors are concerned. I'm curious as to what your suggestion or advice would be for the residents and fellows coming out there looking for mentors. How should they approach that situation?
I think the way to do, so some of it's going to happen just by happenstance. So my mentor, when I went out to UCLA, was Gary Lask, and that's where I matched. And I knew I wanted to work with him, but it was just during the course of the year, the relationship that we developed. Here at Mass General, working closely with Rox Anderson has been very helpful as well. A lot of it has to do with just, the way you connect with people, and you don't want to force those connections. But as you're early in your career, if there are people that you think would give you helpful advice or help you move along, most people who are going to be your mentors are going to be flattered if you reach out to them. Don't be shy about reaching out to people, leaders in our field, because they were in your position at one time and they love that. It's a compliment to have someone say, listen, I really want to speak to you about my interest in derm surgery or laser or aesthetics, whatever it might be. So search people out. And, the best ones are always very interested in what you have to hear, and ultimately make connections to those people. It's essential to really getting your foot in the door.
So working with residents and fellows, what advice do you have for them when they're entering the professional job market for the first time?
Well, I think the first thing is to understand what you think you want to be doing. Is there something that you have a passion for, that you can create a niche in, that can help your career grow? Other things are, do you want to be in academics? And if so, why do you want to be in academics? Is it just an easy place to land that's comfortable? Or do you want to go into academics because you want to accomplish something academically? If you're going to be in private practice, don't be afraid to be an innovator in private practice. So I think the most important thing is to understand where you want to be, what kind of work you want to do, and it's not a one-size-fit-all thing. And then I would say the most important thing is wherever you go to have a good, or feel that you're going to have a good relationship with the people you work with. Because if you don't feel that there's a good relationship there, it's going to be much harder to succeed and you're going to be less happy where you work. So go somewhere where you get the sense that people want to see you grow. That to me is the most important thing, is the personal relationships.
Now in 2020, and so now in 2021, we're still dealing with the pandemic that's going on right now, and we're still doing this virtual world. What advice do you have for the next generation regarding their networking and outreaching process in the virtual world?
Well, I mean, I think it gives a lot more opportunities to do that. I think it's never been easier to reach out to people. If they're speaking in a meeting, ask them questions, or, if there's social media, you can send them a question, maybe they'll answer you back. I think, the Zoom and these other technologies are here to stay. And look, if you want to talk to someone, it's to do a FaceTime call. Last year, we did our interviews for our fellowship program completely on FaceTime on my iPhone. So that's something that never happened before. So it deletes the necessity to travel and see someone, but it doesn't mean that reaching out to them is any less important. So I think it's a new opportunity to reach out and speak to people who you think might be mentors or people who can teach you something.
Now, as a leader in the program, what are you looking for when medical students are applying for residency spots, and also when residents are applying for fellowship spots?
So for medical students, I think it's a demonstrated interest in the field, and I think you don't need to have decided that you wanted to do this in high school. I think that's unhealthy, but you want to see an interest and a motivation to do it, and you want to see commitment to that. Those to me are important. So some energy, a track record of accomplishment, and those are great things. And you don't need to have a differentiated interest. You don't need to say, I'm going to do this someday. Just a general interest about why you want to be a dermatologist that you can answer shortly and succinctly. In terms of fellowship, what you have to understand is when you apply to a fellowship, and this is true for residency too, understand where you're applying. If you're applying to Mass General, it's a 50% research fellowship. This is where lasers are developed and devices are developed. If you don't mention anything about your interest in research, that's going to make us wonder whether or not this is the best place for you. If you write a generic letter for Mohs programs and laser programs, that's another red flag for us that you haven't done your homework about why you want to come here. What we want is we want people who are passionate, people who want to change the field, and people who value being here and want to work with us. So that's very important. And have a plan of what you may want to do from a research standpoint to do something cool and innovative. And it doesn't even have to be in dermatology. And then have people say good things about you. That's important too. And I think those are the real keys. That people like you. They see that you work hard, you're a good person, and that you have an idea of what you want to do with the fellowship that fits to our fellowship program. If you're applying for other fellowships for other reasons, then you have to communicate to them why their program is the right one for you and why you might be the right person for them.
So with your current role as the president of ASDS, what type of things are you really excited about? And also, what resources are you providing to the next generation?
So one of the things that I'm really passionate about this year is our ability to outreach. And a lot of that's now happening on social media, which is good and bad. There's tons of information on social media, and we need to be a part of it. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people who aren't dermatologists, but act as dermatologists are doing a really good job, non-physicians as well, as getting their word out. And we're ultimately the experts, and we have to own this field. We have to own skin. We own the procedures that we do. And the way to do that is to communicate to the public. So the major initiative for this year has been an outreach called Own Your Expertise. Our expertise was challenged by another field, unfortunately, in an academic article. That was the kind of impetus for this. But the basic idea behind it is that we have an expertise in this field. We have to show that expertise and communicate it. And what we do is we do mass social media blasts on certain issues once a month, and we're reaching millions of people each time we do it. Doesn't cost us any money. We're doing it on a practice by practice level, so it's good for the practices, it's good for our fields, raises all boats. We don't tear any other fields down. We just tell people what we do, and that to me is the most important thing we're doing this year, and in terms of the future for our field. Yeah, so I mean, so we have a cosmetic program. We have a great meeting that we just had a couple months ago, where we had 2 days devoted to demonstrations, lectures. So we've had those resources. We have online resources. We have chat groups that we have. We have the annual meeting where there's funding for residents and fellows. We have the cosmetic fellowship that's progressed that now has 28 slots, which just started a few years ago. So one of the major things that we have at the ASDS is a commitment to the future of our field and commitment to providing opportunities for future leaders. There's the Future Leaders Network, where you match up with a mentor to do a important area that within our field, or an area that's important to you. So there are lots of different resources, and reach out to the ASDS. You are our future, you are our lifeblood and our future of our society. So all of those things are crucial to us, and we have a lot to offer in those areas. Anyone who feels that they're uncertain about where they're going to go or what their future plan is, I will tell you that I went directly from college to law school. And I can tell you at no point when I was a lawyer for 3 years in Manhattan at a corporate law firm did I think I was going to be doing botulinum toxins, fillers, and lasers. So you never know where your journey will take you. Just follow your heart and follow things that you find interesting, and you'll do a great job. If you're talented enough to get into medical school, match into dermatology, do well in your residency program, you're going to have no problem being successful if you do what you're truly, where your passion truly lies.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Interview with the Surgeon. Until next time, stay focused and keep following your dreams.